The thing is, I'm speaking a lot. So, Connie, as you know, you will have to stop me if I go in every direction or anything. But I'm all yours.
So, good evening. A few people have asked me before this evening whether I'm prepared for this evening. And I did think about it, and I did write a few questions at the beginning, a few days, about 10 days ago. But then, as Ali has just said, Ali is the most wonderful speaker. You will learn so much about him and from him, but really, I'm just a prop, a very small prop.
Beautiful, sophisticated, glamorous.
So, yes, Ali talks a lot, but the reason he talks a lot is because he knows a lot, and he is incredibly informed, and he is a legend. There isn't really any way that I can properly introduce Ali Mahdavi to you, because as the BBC World Service just a few days ago called him in their cultural frontline arts programme, the King of Glamour. He's also known as the Ambassador of Glamour, and that's something I want him to tell you about. But he's also a creative director of The Crazy Horse for over 10 years. One of his muses is Didier Von Teese. He is a fashion photographer who has photographed the most famous faces today. He's an artistic director. He is a lighting master, hence why we have a little bit of lighting.
Light issues.
Okay, so the list goes on, and I actually can't sum up Ali in any particular way, apart from to say that he is a legend. And okay, he's known for all these things that I just mentioned and many more, but actually at the root of it, he is the most fantastic artist.
Yeah.
Artist who can draw, with a few exceptions who are currently in the room, as in Mr. Danton.
Stop. It's not about me.
It's always
But seriously, Ali has an understanding of drawing that I am not an art academic, but honestly, he has this passion and this rawness in his work that comes out in every project that he does, and most particularly in when he's drawing fashion. So, with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to Ali Mahdavi. Ali, please take a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start. I want to start with why you're the Ambassador of Glamour, and then I want to take you right back to the beginning, because there is a lady here by the name of Madame Mahdavi, who I know, who is Ali's mother, who I know has been the biggest influence on Ali's life and career. But let's just start with, why are you the Ambassador of Glamour?
First of all, I would like to say that I didn't intronize myself the Ambassador of Glamour. I wouldn't have, I wish I would be, how can I say, pretentious enough to do it, but it's a title that often has been given to me. My muse, the 70s, talk about many of us in this room, maestro, as Glam Ambassador. But Ambassador of Glamour is coming often, and I would say that I also see myself maybe as a soldier of glamour, because I think that we're living in a world where glamour is tending to disappear, and we have to fight very hard to arrive there, to keep it alive. As one of my friends, the artist Elian Pinkerton, said, glamour will never die. And as one of my other friends, the genius Lola, said, he said, as long as we're alive. At least as long as I'm alive, I hope glamour will never die. So that's where the title comes.
I mean, Ali is glamour. That's it. Okay, so please, when I was listening to the World Service the other day, and a little bit from what you've told me, the beginning of your life was historic. And I would love you to tell me, because I don't know how many people here actually know the very start. So where were you born, and what was the first years of your life? And before you left, no, I can't, I'm going to give the story away. Where were you born?
I was born in Tehran, Iran. I'm an Iranian, 100%, but more than everything, I'm French. I'm proud to be. But my parents are Iranian. I have some Georgian roots, but I was born in Iran, in Tehran, and I grew up there till the age of 7. From the age of 3, I was in a French school. All the lessons were in French, because my mom, unlike many of Iranians who are obsessed with United States, was always obsessed with France. And she wanted me to be in the French school. So from the age of 3, I started to speak French, and today I'm more at ease. Let's say I think and I dream in French, not in Farsi, the Iranian language. And it's the language of my psychoanalysis. So my main language is French, but I was born Iranian. And I guess by the age of 3, I start to draw. Actually, my brother, who's an injured and a mathematic genius, is the one who, I asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm drawing. I asked, what is that? And he showed me. Once I started, I never stopped. And my first vocation was to become a painter. We had many beautiful paintings. We were very, very wealthy at this time. And we had many beautiful paintings in our home, and especially some reproduction of Salvador Dali that fascinated me, and I would request to be called Salvador Dali by the age of 4. Then, a little bit after, my mom, who was a couture client, would bring me here, not here, in Paris, but as Diana Brilliant said, the best thing about London is Paris. So,
I don't disagree.
We would come twice a year in Paris to go to see the couture show, and at this time the couture show were not how the fashion show are today. They were client show, they were press show, but they were mostly client show in the salon of the house, like Saint Laurent mostly, where my mother's favorites and mine, and Chanel, and everything. So they would have in-house model who would walk on the runway on silence with a number in their hand, and they will give to the client a little notebook with a little pencil with the logo of the brand. And my mother would always request that I note the number of the clothes that I like. The same when we would go at Cartier or Van Cleef, she would always ask my opinion about the jewelry she would buy. Not that she would listen about it, but at least she would listen. So this is how I started to get fascinated by fashion, and that's also around the same time that I start to discover in VHS a Hollywood movie from the 30s and 40s. The first one who really impressed me a lot was Samson and Delilah with Hedy Lamarr, who's the number 2 of my most beautiful all-time Hollywood legend.
Let me ask you who your first one is.
I guess whoever will contradict me, will have to explain me why, is of course Ava Gardner.
Okay. Marlene Dietrich?
No, oh, okay, long things, a lot to say about Marlena, but she's not on the list.
Oh.
Third one is Jean Journey. If you want to speak about Marlena is fascinating because she's the quintessential of glamour. And by that, shall I continue on Iran or go to glamour?
No, let's get you to being an artist.
So from that point, I decided I want to become a fashion designer and requested now to be called Saint Laurent. Then
So we've gone from Salvador
to
Dali.
Saint Laurent.
Oh.
And By then the revolution came and the war, and we lost everything, and we were in danger because my father was an industrial, my uncle a senator, and we had to run away from the country because we would have probably ended up in jail. I mentioned we lost everything, or hopefully my mother, as everything I have comes from her, often without me wanting it, and now I'm experienced enough to know that when she says something, I should listen it and not argue, because otherwise I lose my time, and otherwise experience proved me wrong. But she wanted to have an apartment in Paris, thanks God, because when we run away and had nothing, we had this place in Paris. But the way we ran away is also another story, because we had to cross the frontier. We went by car to the Kurdish, to the Kurdistan, to the frontier of Turkey. We stayed there, and at night we dressed as Kurdish, and we crossed the frontier in pitch dark on donkeys, and we went to Turkey, from there to Germany, and then to Paris.
It's an incredible story.
Sorry, just what age are you at this point?
At this point, I'm 7.
Thank you.
And I think I heard you say that somebody asked you if that was a terrifying experience, and you said that actually you were almost mesmerized by the Kurdish dress.
Yes.
So you were already looking at.
Absolutely, I found it actually quite fun. And first of all, I already had spent 1 year in school in France, and I loved France, and I hated Iran in the Islamic Republic, which is, and I still hate the Islamic Republic, and that's...
Okay, steer off politics.
No, okay, but that's where it all started. Everything you have now, and you deserve it, because it was the choice of Occident, it started there in Iran. Daesh, Al-Qaeda, everything started there. Okay, now,
So we get to Paris.
we get to Paris. I wanted to come to Paris, and what was your question? No, the Kurdish. For me, it was fun. It's later that I understood that many of the people you would pay to pass the frontier could be thieves, that they could rape you, steal everything, cut your throats, and we were very lucky. Until today, I love the Kurdish people, who unfortunately have their whole neighbor is beating them from every side, but they're really fascinating and very kind. Oh, a funny story. While my mother was there, disguised as Kurdish, they would always say to her, "Jende, jende, jende," and jende in Farsi means whore. And we were wondering why they were all saying to my mother that she's a whore. In fact, in Kurdish, it means beautiful.
Oh.
Also, you must know that I love prostitution and whores, and I mean the ones who are volunteer, not the ones who are forced to do that. So I think there's something beautiful about prostitution. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so you get to Paris. You're at school, you already speak French, and you are obviously very attracted to the arts and to wanting to be an artist.
Yes.
You are Yves Saint Laurent, you're probably a few more people between.
No, I stayed in Saint Laurent for quite a while.
Okay, good.
No, at a certain point I wanted to become Hermes, because I was obsessed by Greek and Roman mythology, but the Saint Laurent
that's
people...
interesting because... Oh my lord. Okay, that's interesting because a drawing that you did just recently for Jean-Paul is very of
Yes.
that. But, so then you are at the École des Beaux-Arts.
Okay, no, that's long time after.
Okay, well, we haven't got a year.
How long time do you have?
I want to know where the beginning of the passion of the drawing, apart from as a child, of
Okay.
course.
Okay, passion of the drawing when I started was there all the time. I was drawing every day. So, I knew I wanted to become a fashion designer. So, very early, I directed my study in that direction. At the age of 15, I was at the prestigious school in France called École Boulle. I spent 3 years there preparing the equivalent of my A-level you will have traditional class and 20 hours of artistic class. Then from there, meanwhile, I discover, as I said, they were not so much, at this time we didn't have internet, and there was only 3 public channels, and there were no shows about fashion. But during the fashion season, they would show 5 minutes of fashion in the 8 o'clock news, and that's where I discovered the work of Thierry Mugler. At this point, I'm 16 or 17 years old, and I had, the same way I had with Hollywood Glamorous Woman, I had the slap on the face because it was another example of a facet of the woman that I was obsessed by, but I couldn't define yet. So at this point, I was already in an art school trying to become a fashion designer, but then I decided I want to work for him. And then I started fashion school, and from the first year they started to hate me because something happened that never happened in the story of this school, is that I came up with an idea for the end of year fashion school. I made wedding dress all in hair and in 3 parts. It was already a striptease. And by this time I already had this alopecia universalis, but I wouldn't make the link because I haven't started psychoanalysis. And so it was the first time and the only time in that school that the first year would do the finale of the show. Second year, again, I come up with what called sex appeal. It was a series of corset, because I was already, that was before Mr. Pearl, but I was obsessed with corset. And it was corset, very Mugler influence, and the pussy and the breast would be covered with LED lamp and optical fiber, all that in a very cabaret style. Later people would say, my closet gay cousin would say, oh, he's drawing for transvestite. At this point I didn't understand why. Now I understand and I take it as a compliment, but it really was that. And so this again was the finale of the show, and it would attract lots of press. Oh, I already started to work as an internship at Mugler, and as I was very passionate, I would be the first one there, the last one to leave, serve the coffee, do everything anyone didn't want to do, and maybe do some other good things. And so they knew me, and when I did this fashion show, there were lots of articles about it, and Mr. Mugler, who knew me, requested to see my work and hired me. I worked for him for 4 years, till a really horrible woman came. She wanted to bring her own team, which is okay, but she did it in a very dirty way, firing me. And it disgusted me for fashion for a while. At this point, my mother insists, you have to go back to school and go to the Beaux-Arts, which I would say, no, I don't want. I already have 5 years of art school. She forced me to go to the evening school of the Beaux-Arts. I was there. The teacher said, your level is too good. You're gonna go to see those teachers who are the one in charge of the anatomy class of the Beaux-Arts.
Okay, and this is where it all
And this is when everything changed, because I thought I knew how to draw. But when I started to doing, and it's become an obsession, because again, I didn't want to do it, but she was right. I start to go there, and I start to do the live nude model drawing associated to study of anatomy. And and I was obsessed by it. I felt, I don't know, there's something very powerful coming. You arrive by drawing at a certain point, it's nearly, not only like meditation, but it makes you feel like you're God by being able to draw anything that you have in front of you.
So would you say that at that point when you suddenly, did the light bulb go on, if you like?
Yeah, this is when the things change, because I heard this sentence before, and it's very hard for someone who doesn't draw to understand what it means. They say to you, you have to draw what you see, not what you think. And it didn't make sense to me until I was able to do it, and something switched while I was doing this anatomy class, that I started to draw what I see and not what I think. What I think is that when you draw what you think is when you have a model in front of you, you see a head, a leg, an arm, and you design what you think is the head. When you draw what you see, it's when every part of the body, and it's come at the same time that you know about the muscle and the bones, become something nearly abstract. And that's where you start to draw what you see, not what you know. I don't know if it makes sense what I say, but it's a huge, it's something I'm sure Maestro will understand. It's something that that really changed everything. I thought I knew how to draw, but I didn't. That's where I really learned.
So it's interesting because you say it's almost an abstraction. Like
yes.
The way you draw is almost abstract.
Yes.
But you don't relate to abstract art.
Absolutely not. I probably have in my brain the part of the brain that people who are sensitive to abstract art have, because I don't make the difference between a wallpaper and a Rothko, for instance. And I don't feel anything in front of abstract art. It's not a posture, it's just I don't. I would love to pretend, or like millions of people who, I don't know, collectors who pretend to love this or this or that. I don't feel anything in front of anything abstract.
So
I only am
everything
attracted,
has to be living for you.
Yes, I'm only attracted in human, animals, plants, maybe some stones, mineral, jewelry, but I think nothing else except that. Of course, fashion, clothes, but nothing that is not related to the human form or the animal or the living form is really attracting to me. For instance, I'm also not specifically attracted by architecture or things like that.
And are you as attracted now by the anatomical figure? Are you as obsessed with it now as you were back in the day?
Yes, until the COVID, I would still go twice a week. I was lucky enough they will allow me. Because finally I did get into the Beaux-Arts. Because then by the time I didn't want it, but then I wanted it. It became an obsession. First year they refused me. Second year they nearly refused me. I said to myself, oh, if they refuse me, I'm going to kill myself. They will understand and everything. For some reason, a teacher saved me. I went to the second part of the contest. I finally went in, and the anatomy class is only 1 year, but I kept doing it for 5 years, 10 hours a week, at the point that when I left, they asked me to become an anatomy teacher there. So, and by then, I never stopped going there twice a week to the anatomy class, as the same way as a pianist will play piano every day, or a classical ballet dancer will do every day the bar. It's for me drawing. You have to keep drawing regularly, because if you don't,
the muscle, your muscle, your drawing muscle.
There's something about it that if you stop drawing for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, when you start again, and it's the same for a dancer who stopped, it takes really long time, and you struggle before it come back.
Well, I think, jumping right forward to today, when we first met, was it 2 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. Watching you, because I've been pushing for this show for him to be putting a series of Jean-Paul Gaultier artworks together, some of which are on the wall. There's one over there, which is just extraordinary. You have said that the more that I've been pushing you, and I'm no teacher, and I just say, come on, Ali, I need to see work. You have been responding to that because you've been forced to draw more and more and more, right?
Yes.
So that last series that you produced just a few days before you came here,
yes,
you said there was some of the best work, and I agree. Yes. And it's because, and I think for any art students here, Ali will tell you, listen to him, because drawing every day is crucial, right? It's the number one thing.
Yes, it's
and then you build from it.
How can I say? drawing, I really firmly believe that drawing is not a gift. It's not, you're not born with a gift. Anyone, maybe for, I don't know, quantum science, science or physics or some sportive people have a gift, but I think when we're born, most of the things are possible. I think anyone can draw, and at any age, as long as they're passionate about it and they work hard. And when I say working, it's not working because it's one of the biggest pleasure and aesthetical orgasm in life. But when you arrive there, it's not always. But if you do it, if you work hard and you're passionate about it, anyone can draw. So what I mean by that is that many people, there's, even in fashion illustrator, there's many fashion illustrators who actually don't really know how to draw, but they are hiding. And the problem is that today, and maybe not more than today than before, there's few people like Connie who can see the difference between a really good fashion illustration or what I will call an effect. Because some people who really can't draw, they will drown their drawing into ink effect or computer effect by doing their fashion illustration. And today nobody can really do the difference between it. What is really strong with Connie is that she's one of the rare persons I know who actually doesn't draw, but who have the eyes on judging drawing of someone who really have a long drawing experience.
Well, I think that's because I'm privileged enough to be surrounded by the most extraordinary work every day in my life. So I have learned from you, I learned from Mr. Downton, I learned from Mr.
You also,
Andrea.
because you're passionate about it.
Maybe. So, okay,
So yes,
you have a
back into
rawness.
that, if you want to draw, you have to do it a lot. It's not something that come like this. It's not a gift. It's hundreds and thousands of drawing. And as Picasso said, sometimes people say, "Oh, how long did it take from you to do this drawing?" And Picasso answered, 40 years. And it's true that when I do a drawing session, I draw quite fast. I draw maybe in 4 or 5 minutes, but I do 50, 60 drawing in 2 hours, and maybe only 5 of them will come out. But behind these 5 minutes, there's 30 years of really hard work, which is, again, not work, but pleasure.
And counting. And the rawness, I mean, what I find so extraordinary about the repertoire of your work is that if we look at a drawing like the fashion illustration with Violeta Sanchez up there, there's a rawness, there's a power in your work. And if you look at another part of your repertoire, whether you are the creative director at the Crazy Horse, or whether you're shooting Kylie on a magazine cover, or you're, I don't know, 1,000 things that you do, seems to be one thread that runs the whole way through that, and that is an honesty, but a beautiful honesty that is almost tinged in ugliness sometimes. You're not afraid of ugly, are you?
No. There's a lot to say about this.
Too much questions.
No, it's not, because it's actually, there's all, I think the knot of what I do is somewhere around that. First of all, the fact is that because of my alopecia, I couldn't pretend to become a conventionally beautiful man. The thing is that I always struggled with my physique. I mean, as a 11, 10-year-old, I was really fat, and then my mom would tell me, to encourage me, she said, when you will get old, you will be as beautiful as Helmut Berger. So I did a very drastic diet, because at this point I thought that if you want something, you can have it with willpower, which is true, but only to a certain level. So I managed to get slim, but other, if you gain weight.
Open the floor up,
Yes.
because I think that people will probably have questions that are far more, like they really want to know something that I can't ask you. So please, does anybody have a question for Ali?
And you're more welcome to ask very intimate, personal questions. As Max Truss say, and you've probably noticed it, I have no filter.
No, but thank God, no filter, in my opinion.
It did put me in a very bad situation, but
I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for coming here and
merci.
to us.
Thank you. It's an
Extremely
honor.
entertaining. What do you think of the whole computerized world coming up and people drawing less and less and just turning to computers? I personally work a little bit in fashion. I work closely with designers and they say to me that they come off the drawings. They don't draw fashion as much anymore, but it's all done on computers.
Well, I will answer to you something is that I don't understand the way the fashion world works today, and the thing is that I come from a generation where the designer would either draw or cut. Some of them will do both. Some of them, like Thierry Mugler, Christian Lacroix, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Yves Saint Laurent, they all do beautiful drawings, and you understand the clothes immediately, but they have knowledge of also modeling, like building a clothes. Or some other, like Alaya, would cut directly, but they wouldn't be able to do a drawing to do their idea. Today, most of fashion, very successful designer, I guess it started with Tom Ford, where it wasn't anymore about being a good, I don't say he's not, I work with him and he's fascinating, and it's impossible to not fall in love with him and cut your little finger for him if he asks you, but he doesn't draw, he doesn't cut, he has a strong idea of what he was, and he's drop dead gorgeous, and today the designer, it's not anymore about that, it's about, I don't know, if you're friends with Kim Kardashian, if you're handsome, if you sleep with this one, or there's many other things that will put you in the front of the stage. You're more an image than, and the designer of today, there's so many of them, they don't know how to draw, they don't know how to cut, yet they are the art director of Great House, and they will either cut things, or usually they will look at whatever Prada do and they start from there. And then they will go and buy vintage, and they will cut things, they will do collage, and they will have assistants who will do things for them and things like that. So to answer your question, I have nothing against using computer. For a while, for more than nearly 15 years, I would only color my drawing through computer. I wouldn't do it with painting or ink, and I have lost this ability, and Connie forbid me to do that. And so I have nothing against it as a medium. We should not be scared by the technology. There's nothing wrong about it. But you first need to learn the language before speaking, and you first need to draw before using those tools on the computer. And the fact that many of the most famous designers today who are pretty or fun or telegenic or this or that, and who have no idea of what is drawing the clothes, or, I mean, I actually really don't. There are things that I don't understand, like when you look to Vetements Balenciaga, I think their concept is to do the ugliest thing possible, the worst thing in the worst proportion on the ugliest dress, mixed all together in a collection where a dress has no connection to another one. This is something that goes against anything I ever learned about it. I don't say it's wrong, I think it's very clever. It's come from the idea, everybody says something.
Is it not marketing?
Say one thing someday, he say, anytime an assistant show me something ugly, he say, but it's very modern. And I think it has something to do with the fact that designers today, they don't design for women anymore. For me, designing fashion, first of all, it's to make it have one purpose, is to make the woman feel more beautiful, to make her more beautiful, make her feel more beautiful, and make her feel confident. I don't think any designer is really doing that today, or is have anything to do in what is requested in fashion. So, to answer your question, the technology is not the devil. The way we see things today lead to a generation of people who don't need to know how to draw anymore. So it's not requested for a designer to know how to draw or cut anymore in order to become a successful designer and to rule a house. So I think that's where the thing is coming from.
There is passion in this man.
And no filter, sorry.
Yes.
And not politically correct, sorry. And back for my passion.
Listen to your question.
Sorry.
I agree with everything you said, and I think glamour is fabulous. And do you think in our lifetime glamour will come back?
Well, I think, as I said, as long as they're soldier of glamour, as maybe myself, Maestro here, Connie, and people like Tita, and many drag queens today, and Bethany Vernon, Catherine Baba, as long as there are soldier of glamour, glamour is not dead. I think people love glamour. The fact is that maybe it's somehow, I don't know how it's degenerate to that today, but it's not prevalent anymore. It's not necessary anymore.
I think it's sleeping and it will emerge again.
I hope it will. I'm here for
The
that.
fashion administration did that, kind of went to sleep for a while.
But yes, and thanks to people like you. But I think also what I wanted to say is that glamour and beauty are two different things. There can be linked, but you don't need to be beautiful to be glamorous.
Absolutely.
As for a woman, as I believe, the quoting again, and Rubinstein say, there is no ugly woman, there's only lazy woman. And passing 25-year-old, a woman cannot rely on her natural beauty anymore, and she must preserve her beauty. So the thing is, men cannot really do that. Men are limited because they cannot use makeup and clothes and hair the same way women do, unless they go on the drag side. Maybe there are a few exceptions like David Bowie, who managed to stay really glamorous, becoming the most beautiful man of all time. Actually, Bowie is somehow for me the male equivalent of Marlene Dietrich, but it's more difficult for men. But women, they have no excuse. And I'm not against plastic surgery if it's done properly. If a woman wants to be, she has to create her own beauty. And glamour is not be creating your beauty in a way society defines beauty, but fighting to achieve your own vision of beauty. And again, that's where Gita comes in the game, because she's what Marlene did on her time. She's a girl next door, blonde, cute American girl initially. And she's very beautiful, like millions of other beautiful, but she's not the most beautiful woman on the planet. But with the tool of glamour, and by reaching her vision of glamour, she became the most beautiful woman on the planet. So that's the power of glamour. Will it come back? It's not in my hand, unfortunately, because I don't rule the world. I wish I was a dictator, and I would have the Ministry of Corset and Hiking and would force women to a certain point to be glamorous, whether they want it or not, otherwise they will be punished. But I'm
How you feel?
I think it's up to women to want to be glamorous, and it's up to women to stop follow fashion and only think of one thing when they go and buy clothes. First, not listen to their friend, but just think, will that clothes make me look more beautiful or not? Am I feel comfortable with it? Will it make my body more beautiful. It should be your only concern when you're buying the clothes, and women are not doing that anymore. They all want, we come from a period when girl wanted to look like their mother, and then the mother wanted to look like a girl. Beauty is not a criteria anymore. Youth is the criteria. And we see how the excess of it and how ridiculous it can become. I had still admire her, but you see what it made of someone like Madonna when you refuse to, and God, please don't make her.
No.
This is not register, no? Yes, it is. Okay.
Yes, shh. Let's, any more questions?
One more.
Not a question.
Mm.
It's a Valentine to you, Anne.
Oh.
I'm getting emotional. Because your emotion pulsating through the room. I really mean it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Here, here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to regain composure enough.
Sorry?
I'm going to regain my composure enough. I'm going to look this way, not at you, because I love to look at detail. But just to say, if you ever get to be a dictator, I'm voting. You vote for me. The fact that you have no filter and never saw the line you were crossing and crisscrossing all your career, and the fact that you draw like an angel and photograph like you do, and that you are able to do it from the heart without your filter. You know, we all grow a filter, we have to. The fact that you never are, well, no, I think you are polite, but then something unravels all too quickly. But really, Ali, truly, you are a master of, not just of your thing, but master of our universe. I mean,
Here, here.
Oh my God. What can I say after
yeah.
someone I so highly respect and admire and feel really untalented compared to saying that to you. So I can say one thing. I only wish that what you say would in a way how can I say become concrete with client commission
Yes.
meetings.
Oh, yes. I totally agree, because money is freedom.
Yeah.
You know, and so many of us who are in this business or related to this business spend a lot of time doing things for nothing because it might be good for us. I tried that with my plumber, saying, redo that crap, it'll be ever so good for you. But you deserve it, Ali, and it's coming.
It's coming.
Connie changed my life. Connie gave me a confidence. I mean, my drawing became so much better thanks to Connie. She actually made me relevant as a fashion illustration. Before Connie, I think I sent my fashion illustrator to more than 150 agents all around the world. I had maybe 5 answers. Most of them were like wonderful.
Ali, you're not doing yourself any favours.
Yeah, I know.
Really sell it.
Put me in this exhibition
he
near
deserves
Antonio
it.
and Bruo,
And this is the beginning of him.
and in the same exhibition than David Norton, than Andrea, than Jason. I mean, me being in this exhibition, at the moment when it wasn't always easy for me, it kind of made me live again. So thank you, Connie.
Okay.
friend Louis here, but I guess you have enough of me, so for next time.
Maybe during the week, or maybe
I think tomorrow, but I can come back
you will
whenever you
come
want.
back. We'll have another longer session with Ali next year. Let's hope, yeah?
But, yes, come here. Mannequin Queen. You must know that to my psychoanalyst, how can I say it? I make him responsible for all my struggling, depression, sadness, neurosis, and I just spoke to her for a year and a half, but I owe everything to her, and it's annoying, but she's always right. And the best decision of my life, and I still won't take any decision without asking for advice, and I hope she will always, the other day I said to her, I wish I could put you in my pocket and have you with me everywhere, because I just am so sad for people who don't have a wonderful mother like the way I have. I mean, I really believe, sometimes people say, oh, these children are awful, they put their parent in a home when no one takes care of them, but you don't know how the parents were. I think you have the children you deserve, and wonderful parent like her, I'm very blessed. Thank you, Connie. God bless you. Sorry, drawing demonstration for the next time. And I can do it on the corner. No, because my friend Louis, the wonderful Louis, came for me to draw him, but sorry. But next time I come, I promise a great session for you, Louis. Very glamorous, talented man, and it will be for next time. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. I'm always glad that somebody wants to listen to me. Thank you for being here. It's great. It was, of course, this is my wonderful music partner that I love and admire so much. She's been very good to me when I studied at the Royal College. I'm sorry? Kimberly, I have to join for you somewhere. Finally, meet you.